Simon Harris, you were Taoiseach, Prime Minister at the age of 37, a Cabinet Minister aged 29, a TD, Member of Parliament at 24. But all over the Western world, electorates are rejecting career politicians. So why should they vote for you?
Well, I'd ask people to vote for me based on the plan that we have for our country for the next number of years, and I'd make the point that political experience is a positive and not a negative.
Positive and not a negative. Do you know, slime ball, utter slime ball, sort of prepping up the fact that we need these politicians. Huh?
We live in a very uncertain world. It's become even more uncertain in the last number of weeks.
Now, the reason he's saying it's become a lot more uncertain in the last couple of weeks, that wouldn't be because Trump got in, you know? He's hyping that Trump derangement syndrome thing again.
I got involved in politics at a young age, as you rightly say, but I got involved at a young age for a very specific reason of advocacy. When I had a brother born with autism and wanted to start campaigning for better facilities for people with autism. I found myself somewhat drawn into or sucked into politics at that young age. But since then, I've had a number of leaders.
Yeah, he was drawn into it. He was never placed there, or it was never scripted for him to become Taoiseach. No.
Leadership roles that I believe have prepared me well for the position of Taoiseach. And of course, I've only had the opportunity to be Taoiseach of Ireland for the last 7 months. And I'm asking people to give me a mandate now for the next 5 years so that I can implement the plans we have around cost of living, childcare, housing, and helping small businesses.
Nothing about migration, once again.
You've only been Taoiseach for 7 months, but your party, Fine Gael, has been in office since 2011. This would be an historic 4th consecutive term. Is there a danger of a party becoming complacent if it never serves time in opposition?
Well, my party is anything but complacent, and I suppose
they're literally the walking meaning of complacent, this bunch.
What I would say is during that 14 years, it hasn't been a static period of time, of course. During that 14 years, we've been dealing with the financial crisis. First thing my party...
There we go again. See what I'm telling you? The money. Holding the threat of money over people.
Had to do was get the IMF out of town and restore our economic sovereignty as quickly as possible.
Economic sovereignty. Now, you know I keep stopping and starting these because I need to make these points about these people. Economic sovereignty. Is that what that man just said? How's being under the euro Ireland's economic sovereignty? Would that not be the punt? Would the punt not be Irish economic sovereignty?
Secondly, we had Brexit, and viewers in Sky News will remember that, the challenges that posed for peace process and for our livelihoods and for relationships between these two islands. Then we had a COVID pandemic, saving lives and lives.
All these external things that don't... Like, how do people not see this man lying constantly? Every time he opens his mouth, he lies. And all he seems to want to do is threaten us. Or say, if we don't get back in, this is going to happen. You know that way? It's all threats. Threats and lies.
Livelihoods and then an inflationary crisis. And my party has played a part in government during all of that time, but in very different governments with different levels of relative strength in the governments during those years. But I'm in politics long enough, despite my relative youth, to know politics is always about the future. And very much as I travel around this country, people are asking about what can you do for the next 5 years to secure our future at a very difficult time in the world.
OK, let's talk a little about the immediate future then. Fianna Fáil is your only realistic coalition partner if you hope to get back into government. So why are you attacking their policies?
So my party...
Because, let you in on a little secret here, but it's all Punch and Judy. It's all Punch and Judy. And the mainstream media, if you say that word, if you say them words, that Punch and Judy, you know, oh, no, he isn't. Oh, yes, he is. Oh, no, If you say that, they attack you. They don't want you saying that because you're revealing their secret, which is fake opposition. Which is, who was it that said that? I think it was George Carling don't hold me to it, but I think it was George Carlin who said, politics nowadays is exactly like the WWF. Not the World Wildlife Foundation, but back when wrestling was called the WWF, he said, politics today is like the WWF. Bashing each other, slapping the head off each other when the cameras are on them. But as soon as they go backstage and the cameras are off them, they're all patting each other on the back, buying each other drinks, sitting down, eating meals together. And that's exactly the way politics works. It's a worldwide thing. Not only that's a worldwide thing. It's all Punch and Judy, folks.
Parties worked very well with Fianna Fáil. I think Fianna Fáil have worked well with Fine Gael. We've worked well in a three-party coalition. I'm proud to lead that three-party coalition. But we did, all three parties, make a decision to contest the election as independent parties, as standalone parties. And of course, that means we put forward policy ideas. It's been the...
And they're probably doing it as well because they know if they run as a three-party, if they run as Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Greens, that they're just going to be totally ignored as a group. You get me? So put forward the facade that they're all individual parties and they all have disagreements and agreements with other parties in certain parts. It's all about getting the votes in for a particular group. And then if it comes down to it, right? So say it does come to the end of this election, the one that's coming up now. Say Fianna Fáil, right? Now this is hypothetical, right? If Fianna Fáil, no, let's actually take Sinn Féin because that's what I think that they're trying to do with this latest one. They're trying to prop up Sinn Féin. I know it's how most the MSN and things are all sucking up the Sinn Féin and putting Sinn Féin in a good light. They're doing that for a reason because they want votes to go to Sinn Féin. So let's say Sinn Féin romp it, right? Let's say Sinn Féin romp it, but they don't run enough candidates like they did last time. That's when they go, shall we go into coalition? Simple as that. Break the votes up, as in not for the group of them as Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Greens as one, because we know if they did run like that all the votes would go like independent, or a good majority of the votes would go independent, because the coalition so far has been an utter joke. All they've done is drive the country into the ground even more as a collective. This Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Greens pushed LGBT on the youth. I mean, that's all they've done. Wasted billions on a children's hospital that's still not built. They did this as a collective.
The first election I've been in as a leader to put forward a policy agenda. And I think it's good to tease through and debate policies, to debate economic policy, to debate different perspectives on different issues. But I'm not going to airbrush the past. I'm very proud of the work of the coalition government. But my job right now is to outline my vision to the people of this country and ask them to vote for it.
The median age at which someone buys a house in Ireland is 39. By coincidence, that's almost your age. So you're of the generation whose earnings have failed to keep pace with the growth of house prices. But the difference is you're the man in charge. So what do you say to people about that?
I'm the man in charge for 7 months, but I am the man in charge, and I'm the person in charge, and I'm the person determined to fix the housing crisis for once and for all. And what I say to those young people right across Ireland, and I say it to them directly on the stump at the moment, is we now finally have two things in Ireland to fix the housing crisis: the money and the plan. It's rare over the last several years that we've had both at the same time. My party, Fine Gael, has published a plan now to build 303,000 homes over the next 5 years. And we've also put in place...
They've went 3,000 more than what Sinn Féin promised. Isn't that mad? He said 303,000 there. Sinn Féin said they'd build 300,000. So they're getting the little parts in, you know. Look what we're slightly better than Sinn Féin, you know what I mean?
A number of supports for first-time buyers. There's a debate in our election about those supports, but I'm absolutely determined to keep those financial supports in place for first-time buyers for one reason and one reason only. We have to bridge the gap while we build up housing supply to help people get their foot on the ladder.
You've talked about the money. We'll get to that in a moment. Let's talk first about immigration, another big issue in this election. When the coalition came to power, immigration was less than 100,000 per year. It's now more than 150,000 per year. Now, the figure for asylum seekers was under 4,000. That now stands at 33,000. Your government really lost control of that issue, didn't it?
So in our country, respectfully, we don't use that sort of language around migration debates. I mean, we live in a European Union. We're very proud to be in the
Sorry. We don't use that language. So now he's trying to remove language around immigration.
European Union, and we have seen a war on the continent of Europe. My country, Ireland, has played a role in assisting 106,000 people from Ukraine fleeing Putin's brutal invasion of Ukraine. That has been an important factor. We've also seen, not just in Ireland, but across the EU and indeed in the UK, a very significant increase in migration movements. What my government has had to do is this: for the very first time, really build up migration structures and policies and processes in a way that wasn't, frankly, a major political issue in Ireland before. This is probably the first general election in which immigration is on the political agenda in terms of a debating point, and that is...
It's on it just because it's a debating point, basically. But it's not on it, Simon. Oh, said his first name. It's not on it, Hamas Harris, is it? Because 75% of Irish people are concerned about it. It's not a talking point because of that. It's not a talking point because more than half the country are concerned about it. It's just a little talking point for them.
Is a good thing. I'm very clear. We need to have a fair but firmer approach to migration, and I've made a number of changes over the last few months since taking on the office of Taoiseach to make sure that rules are tighter, to make sure that rules are applied when it comes to things like processing times, deportation orders, and indeed I have a number of other proposals now in terms of making sure that anyone who comes to Ireland who has a financial income is paying a contribution towards their costs.
Now, the first one he said there was the amount coming through, or the process, the speed of the process. Why do you think he said the speed of the process first? Because they want more and more of them in. That's why he said that first. He's not highlighting any of the concerns that the people have. That, hang on a second, you're letting too many in. He's trying to make the public focus on that he's done such a good job at speeding up the process of it. Like McEntee is out there harping over herself that she's proud of what she's done. That they've actually made it so it's faster for people to come here.
Taoiseach, do you think President Trump means what he says when he talks about imposing tariffs on imports from the EU and attracting big US multinationals back from Ireland?
I think President Trump does mean what he says in terms of his position in relation to trade and tariffs. And I think President Trump has received a very large mandate in terms of the outcome of the US presidential election. And I do, being very honest, think that the second Trump...
Well, you might as well just stop there, Harris. Because you just said being honest. There's no such thing as an honest politician.
...presidency may not be comparable to the first for a variety of reasons, including that increased mandate that he's now received, including looking at some of the key appointments that he's making to his cabinet in terms of the direction of trade. And that's why I'm preparing my country and working with EU counterparts to prepare the EU for that changed reality we may see. Now, Ireland can approach...
Oh, for that changed reality we might see. You know, remember people, all of these lines are scripted for him. But that was very interesting. I initially only watched the first 2 minutes and I was like, look, I have to do a video on this, but listen to that.
In terms of the direction of trade. And that's why I'm preparing my country and working with EU counterparts to prepare the EU for that changed reality we may see.
That changed reality. Very interesting.
Now, Ireland can approach this with confidence. There are many reasons firms locate in Ireland, including our access to the European Union. But also we can never be complacent. And that's why my party is setting aside a very significant amount into funds, future funds, to protect our country from any economic shock. And I think President-elect Trump is a businessman. He is transactional in many ways. He approaches the world through the lens of a businessman. And we will be making the point that Irish companies are now creating jobs in every US state, and that actually trade between the US and Ireland and trade between the US and the EU is good, not just for people in the EU and Ireland, but is also good for people who voted for President Trump.
It was fucking killing them inside to talk about them like that. Huh?
Traditionally, Fine Gael supports low public spending and free markets. But like most of your opponents, you seem to be competing to spend money in this election campaign. You're campaigning on energy bill reductions, pension increases, family care increases, child benefit increases, rent tax credits and €1,000 for every baby born in Ireland. The last Celtic Tiger led to a crash. Do you ever pause to think about the fact that this one could too?
Oh, nobody in Ireland needs to pause in relation to remembering how my political predecessors destroyed our economy and crashed it.
I thought he said recently that the book stops with him. But yet it's more of the blame in previous things. They've been in there for 100 years, people. They've been in there for 100 years in power. But it's always the previous government, the previous government. It's like one of the cards all these politicians use. Wasters.
We know we live with the scars every single day. In terms of trying to get public services back to where they need to, trying to make up for that lost decades, trying to get up housing supply. Nobody needs to pause or be reminded in relation to that. We lived through that. But it's exactly for that reason that my party is approaching the election looking to do three things. Help people in the here and now, because the cost of living crisis is real. Invest in our public services, our infrastructure, which is key to our economic success as well as social cohesion. But thirdly and crucially, also set aside billions of euro every year into funds to provide a buffer so that my children never experience the austerity that my generation did.
The last Fine Gael Taoiseach Leo Varadkar has said that the next Irish government must work actively towards a united Ireland. Is he right? Doesn't appear to be an issue in your campaign.
Well, let me be very clear. I have an aspiration to see a united Ireland. My party's full title is Fine Gael, the United Ireland Party, and it is a legitimate aspiration, and probably has been the aspiration of anyone who's ever held the office that I held, to see our island and our country united. That is my aspiration. But I also want to be honest with the people of Ireland, and indeed with the people of the UK. My priority right now is working to fulfil and harness the potential of the Good Friday Agreement, which has seen too much of a stop and a start. We now have the institutions back up and running in Northern Ireland. We have an interlocutor in Downing Street in Prime Minister Starmer, and I would believe an interlocutor in government buildings in Dublin. All three wanting to work together to make sure that not just the peace part of the Good Friday Agreement, vital as it is secured, but also the prosperity agenda.
Oh God, it's like him walking with Starmageddon. Them two walking on a peace agreement, or to further the peace agreement. Good luck.
And I have worked intensively with Keir Starmer and others to see that reset in Anglo-Irish relations. We've agreed structures now where you'll have an Irish-UK summit each year where our ministers will work to an agreed programme of joint areas of interest. We have a shared island unit, which I'm committed to keeping here in this jurisdiction, to work and support projects on an all-island basis. There is much work to do, but you unite people not by arbitrary dates or deadlines for polls. You unite people by winning hearts and minds.
So when are you going to start doing it then, you absolute clown?